Hello everyone, Chris Martenson of Peak Prosperity, and I'm here with your weekly update. It is May 19th, 2017. We have a lot of interesting stuff going on at the site this week. Of course, this has been a fascinating week in the news with Donald Trump getting into more and more difficulty and people throwing around the I word, talking about impeachment. Markets got a little upset for one day, but miracle of miracles, somebody stepped in and started buying the heck out of the markets. Interesting moment yesterday in the markets where it was announced that U.S. warplanes had hit a Syrian military convoy. That's an act of war, right? Because they were attacking U.S.-backed rebels. We know who those are. Those are mercenaries. They're mostly Chechens, Pakistanis, Afghanis, people from North Africa who have been paid to come in and fight, and apparently the Syrian military dared to attack these foreign mercenaries in their own country fighting. So U.S. bombed them, and of course, what should happen in a moment like that is that's a very destabilizing thing. I mean, everything that's going on with Russia and how cornered and marginalized they feel, and knowing that Russia is on the side of helping Bashar al-Assad's regime, or government, I should say. Regime is the word you use when you want to delegitimize. The government, the actual legitimate government of Syria, remains Bashar al-Assad's, and Russia's on his side. So for the United States to be attacking Assad's forces, that's a destabilizing moment. If you were expecting Trump to be any different in this regard than Obama was or Bush, nope, not so far, because guess what? It's not really the president in charge of these things. Nonetheless, what should happen in a moment when there's the possibility of heightened kinetic conflict between two major superpowers, which is what that story was? Exactly when that story broke, stocks vaulted upwards, gold got sold heavily by somebody. Those are two things that would say, oh, those are called risk-on behaviors. When you want to take risk off the table, you would buy gold, you would sell stocks, because stocks are risk assets, gold is safe haven. But suddenly, in that moment where geopolitical risk got heightened, somebody decided that was an awesome moment to go risk on. And you know who I think that is? I can't wait to see what the central bank's balance sheets look like going forward. Hey, people of Switzerland, remember to try and act surprised when your government loses 100% of the GDP of your nation. Your Swiss National Bank loses all that money gambling in the US stock market. Good luck with that. Can't wait to see how that turns out for you. Now, at Peak Prosperity, what do we have going on? I'm really excited by what's happening there right now. Look, here's what we do. Knowing, doing, being. Those are our three big areas at Peak Prosperity. The knowing is the crash course. The knowing are all the articles and the geopolitical event tracking and the economic tracking and the ecological tracking that we do on a daily and weekly basis. Knowing without doing, totally useless. Knowing should lead to doing. And in doing, that's Peak Prosperity's offering with Prosper, 8 forms of capital, helping you understand and build your financial capital, but also other forms of capital, like your social capital, your knowledge capital, living capital, and increasingly, your emotional capital, which brings us to the being part of this story. We have an article that I wrote last week on being, a lot of the things that I have personally learned about how to step past my ego to step into a more authentic, a more purposeful, a more meaningful life. Hey, look, this whole job I've created for myself, me being here in this moment, being able to talk to you like this, is an extraordinary gift. It didn't just happen. It happened because I was willing to take certain risks. I was willing to step outside of my comfort zone. I was willing to look past what I thought I knew so I could start to see the world in a whole new way. That's what I'm sharing with you, with the knowing, with the doing, and increasingly now on the being side. So if you're watching this on this weekend of the 20th and 21st of May, I want to alert you to the idea that on the 22nd, which is Monday, my wife Becca and I, and she's an absolute star at the beings part of this equation. She is one of the most fearsome inner warriors I know about. She knows her inner landscape extraordinarily well, helps a lot of people discover theirs. She and I will be doing a free webinar. We have well over 100 people signed up already. We'll see how many we can actually get signed up. I hope you're one of them so that you can come in, look at this new material, engage with us in a live format, and get to ask your own questions. You have to register for that so that we know that you're in on that particular piece. So come to Peak Prosperity, find the registration for that new seminar that we've got coming on, webinar I should say, and also don't forget on June 7th, we have another webinar. This is a paid webinar, but we're bringing in 3 Federal Reserve experts so that we can understand what they're likely to do next. Because listen, if you don't know what the central banks are up to, you won't understand what's happening in the markets or how to position yourself in the financial sphere. That includes David Stockman, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget under Reagan. That includes G. Edward Griffin, who wrote the book on the Federal Reserve. And that includes Axel Merck, who has more direct contact with current and former Fed officials, both governors and FOMC members, than anybody else I personally know. I'll be moderating. We'll have those 3 distinguished guests. It's going to be an amazing time. That's June 7th. Also, you can find that at Peak Prosperity. So come on by. Look forward to seeing you there. That's this week's update. I will see you next week.